Hey everyone, it's Tiger with one more line of code. We're going to get moving on with episode 7, and we're going to be working on some dynamic repository work today. I want to keep this one shorter. I was feeling a little under the weather the last couple days, had the flu and stuff, so I'm still not quite there. My my brain's firing a little slower than usual. So I just want to get a little bit of work done here that I know I can kind of handle. I also got new parts for a new computer, so that's put together. If you see any changes on the machine itself, different hard drives or maybe files or folders in a little bit of a different spot, that's all that was happening. I put together a new machine that we're running on now, but basically the drive and data is all the same. Just some renaming going on there. So let's hop to it. Let's see what we can get done today. Let's open up Rider and Riome naturally. If you recall, this is right where we left off. I was on the user repository here in persistence. We made this user repository, we got it all tested, and everything worked out great. What I want to do now is make this more abstract. I want to take a lot of this functionality and put it into an abstract class, more of a parent type class, so that all of the repositories I make can reuse this over and over and over again. I know that 99% of the tables I make are always going to be ctx.tablename.first or default, but everything else is the same. Very little is going to change in these functions, so I can put them at a bit of a parent class type and just kind of reuse that functionality. So we're going to do that. For this one, I want to make a abstract repository that all of my RiomeDB repositories we use, and I'll make a second abstract repository for my logging stuff, which is coming later. So for today, I just want to deal with the RiomeDB stuff. So in RiomeDB, I'm going to make a folder called common, and I'm going to add a class here called abstract repository, which is an abstract class. This will need to be a generic. You'll see why in a bit. Where T abstract table. I'm going to qualify the type as an abstract table because I know everything that I pass is going to be inheriting from abstract table. All of our tables are inheriting abstract table. This lets me use the ID, create date, update, and is deleted from within abstract repository. So I'll have a little bit of power here to do some things with the is deleted flag and IDs and stuff. If I didn't qualify this, everything would still work. I just wouldn't be able to do like an ID lookup or an is deleted kind of lookup. So let's keep that here. What do I need here? I need a iLogger because I always need an iLogger. Abstract. I want this read only, but otherwise that looks good. I need not a RiomeDB context. I want an IDB context factory. If you remember, I prefer the DB context factory pattern as opposed to a DB context. And then I want to create this using DB context factory. I don't want to create this with the logger. And the reason I don't want to create it with a logger is because as a parent class, as an abstract class, everything has to get passed down to this during the creation. I don't want everything to have to create an abstract repository or cast themselves to an abstract repository and pass down. I can create the logger here on the fly without a whole lot of overhead, so I'm just going to do that instead. With iLogger, this is more complicated, but with Serilog, this is easier. I just do logger would be a new Serilog factory, create a logger of whatever type that I need, abstract repository T, and bam, I've got a logger, an iLogger of exactly what the type that I need. Now I'm going to be doing this in a lot of other places when I do abstracting, so I want to get this function out to something more generic, more reusable. Let's do that quick and then we'll come right back. So I'm going to copy this for now. But what I need to do, I want to use this anywhere where I'm doing abstracts. And I know I'm going to be doing abstracts in persistence. I know there's probably going to be some in application. I don't know if there's going to be any on domain, but I feel like I should still be putting like this kind of a helper tool, this creating loggers on the domain side, on the domain project, because it seems like that way everything can potentially use this. Now, I don't have Serilog on the domain project right now, but we'll fix that too. So on the domain project, I do have a common folder, but I want to make a different folder for this called helpers. And I will make a log helper, which will be a static class, which will return an iLogger of whatever type is passed. And basically, we just need to return what we did before. Something like that. Now, Serilog factory, I don't have here, but it says I can use extension logging, which is great. Let's check our NuGet packages. Serilog. So ASP.NET Core is on application. So if you put this on the application level, you wouldn't need to kind of extend this any further. Because I have it on domain, I need to bring this down a notch. But I think I can just use the extension logging and put that down on domain. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's all I need. Okay, so this will let me use a helper up here. So backup and abstract repository. Now all I need to do is log helper create of myself, basically. And now I can use this log helper.create logger in a lot more places. I wanted to go to this. I do want to take a look at this really quick. I was doing some testing before, and I'm really curious, so I'm going to find out during this project. I noticed that the factory itself is disposable. New Serilog factory. So I have I'm curious here, you know, if this, where I'm disposing of the factory after I use it, is any better than just something like this. I'm also curious, like, because I've disposed of the factory, you know, does the logger still function and work even though the factory is disposed, or am I disposing too early this way? I don't really know, but I want to find out. So I'm going to comment out this first one, which is what I normally do, and we're going to see if this is maybe a better, more efficient way. We'll have to do some testing later on, but not right now. So for now, I'm disposing of the factory, and we'll see. We'll have to check our logs, make sure they're still logging. Back to our abstract repository. I have this created. I've got a logger. I've got a DB context factory. Now I need to put some functions in here that everybody can use. Quickest way that I can think of to do that is go to the user repository and copy those three. And let's just put them in abstract repository. What changes here is that it's not always going to be a user. It's going to be a T, and a T, and a T, and T. Do my imports. And that's most of it. Now, the difference here is that I can't do CTX users anymore. How do I handle that, right? All I really need to do is do something like dbset equals CTX set T. And then I can grab db set. What this does is it sets the table on the database context to whatever model I'm passing, and then does the query along it. And as you can see, this is all happy and fine and dandy and working and loving it. Good job. So let's duplicate this. db set. db set. So those are done. We are going to expand on this later because this being duplicated 3 times is already bugging me, and I know I can abstract this away, and I know I'm going to want to later, but I want to leave that alone for now. When we start needing to include related tables, this method won't work as well. What we'll end up doing, we'll do it right now. If I make this protected, because I don't want public, but if I make a protected virtual function, and let's say I give back a db set, let's call this something like get db set, Riome db context, copy this, return db set. Now I just switch this to get db set ctx. This doesn't look like much of a change yet, but if you've been coding for a while, you'll see the power change in this. Especially as this being virtual now, I can override this in other repositories, and it will appropriately use the overridden functions. So if I'm using related tables, for example, I'm on users, right? ctx set user. You have to use your imagination here, but imagine we did this, right? And I import user. If I'm doing users.include something, including related tables or including other things, I can't do that here in the abstract repository because I don't know what model I've got going on, but I can do that out in user repository. But how would I get that into here, right? On my get, how do I say get and include this related table? This is going to give me the ability to do that by letting me override the default get db set. So in my user repository, what I would do here, I believe it's protected, override, get db set, right? Is that what I called it? Yes, it is, but I'm not importing it. In user repository, I need to actually use abstract repository so that auto filler works. Pull from abstract repository. I can see this is mad because it wants me to pass db context factory. And now I should be able to override. Protected, override, get db set. And you can see now I have this get db set that I can override. And now in here I can actually do, you know, it's like db set equals ctx.users.include. You know, whatever I want here, and then return, you know, my db set. And this, in this sense, this lets the user repository or whatever repository I'm working with override my default includes, which defaulting is none, of course. We'll get to that later. These are getting yellow now that I'm inheriting from abstract repository. It tells me I need a new keyword or I need to get rid of them. These are doing what the abstract is already doing. So even in getting rid of those, I now still have a get, a list, and a count on here, which is exactly what I want. The db context factory I don't actually need anymore, so I can get rid of this. I still need to bring it into the injection and pass it down, but I don't need to actually have a local variable of it. If I want to use it, which I will, on the abstract repository, what I'll do is I'll make this one protected, and I'll change the naming convention to match with a protected field param. Change these quick. There. Now, in any outside repositories, so for example, user repository, now here I can actually call db context factory whatever I want. And it'll already be created by the base itself. I don't need to have a local copy of it. So I have a user repository. I've abstracted away a lot of that logic, which is great. The only thing I need to do now is dynamically register my repositories as scoped. And I want to do that similar to the way that we've done the others, except I'm not using a marker interface anymore. I'm actually just going to use this marker abstract. It's still a marker, it's just not an interface, it's an abstract. But as long as I know everything's going to inherit from abstract, I should be able to use this. I'm not sure if I really can, because it is a generic. However, if I cannot pull in some random generic abstract repository, then what I should be able to do is I can have this inherit some marker interface. I could do something like, I scoped repository or something like that, right? And then I could aim at the scoped repository. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, but so let's see what happens. In my dependency injection, I'm going to, you can see here, this is how I'm registering currently, iUser repositories. Let's make a private function, add repositories. Then I'm going to take a look at the other ones that I've done. Adding scoped handlers is not quite what I'm looking for. Actually, this is probably closer. Let's pull this one to start. Let's take this add scoped handler, pull that over to persistence. Of course, I want to look at the persistence assembly reference. And I want it assignable to abstract repository this time. I think I can leave this as an open generic. Where it's not an abstract and it's not an interface. That should all work. This is where things change a little bit. And what I need to do different here is I need to have, what this should give me is it should give me user repository. I want to register user repository as an iUser repository. The way that I'm going to do that is a little bit dangerous, but if I've had really good luck with it, is I'm going to just look through all the interfaces on user repository, grab the first one, and then just by default business rule convention, if I need to inherit additional interfaces with this, I will always make sure that my primary one is the first one. We'll keep an eye on it. It is a little bit dangerous, but like I said, I haven't had any trouble yet. So for this handler type, I think I can just go over types and do like a interfaces first. I believe. And then I can do this. My interface, comma. I think it's just that simple. Is it really? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's get rid of add scoped. So now we're calling add repositories, which should loop through and grab anything inheriting from abstract repository of any kind of type. This is the part that I'm not sure if it's quite going to work. And then we'll grab the first interface on it and register it as that type of interface. So I should still get an iUser repository inheriting of user repository. Let's build. Let's see what happens. Step one is let's see if we can even build, right? Looks like we did. That started. Of course, I got a break on it. That's not a good sign. Some services are not able to be constructed. A health check handler. Health check handler is unable to resolve iUser repository while attempting to activate. So this is not working. Let me hit a breakpoint here quick and here and try running this again. I want to see if I'm getting these abstract repositories or not. Handler types, I'm getting none. So this is not pulling up the generic abstract repository like I was hoping it would. Let me go to my application folder. In common interfaces, in these marker interfaces, let's add an iScoped repository, which is just going to be another marker interface. Let's go back to my abstract repository and inherit from that. Now what I should be able to do is look for anything inheriting iScope repository. And now the trick is this iScope repository the first interface on it, or is it technically the second? Because the iScope is on abstract. Let's see what happens. I'm going to leave these breakpoints. Handler types. So I do get one handler type, which is good. I'm getting the user repository. That's a start. And I get iScope repository as my first, which is not ideal. So I can get last, I guess. Interfaces. Let's do this quick. Stop and rerun. I just want to see what the list of interfaces looks like. Run. Yeah, so really it's just the second one. I can grab the second. That's dangerous too. I can grab the last. That's dangerous. I don't think I can't come up with a safe way to do this. If we do this, this is dangerous. We're not gonna do this. We're gonna do this for right now. We're always going to grab the second one. Because abstract repository inherits iUser repository, I should be able to guarantee that 0 always exists and is iScope repository. 1 should always be whatever I'm inheriting from. Let's see what this does. Well, it built, so we're off to a good start there. Let's open up Postman. Health check. I'm still on development environment. Let's run this health check. I get a success and a health check success. So that's good. Health check fail. Run that. I'm getting health check failed. There's still a DB check, which gives me the count of users if I remember right, and that looks good. And then if you take a look back down here, you'll see that it, of course, ran that same select again. So everything seems to be working now. So this is working appropriately. I really have some fear about this indexing. It's a huge spot for potential error. Because I'm the only dev on this and the way that it's set up, I don't think it's really as risky as my brain thinks it is, but this feels just really dangerous. I'm going to leave it alone for now, but just know that it's something I probably want to get to and change. But other than that, I think we're good for now. That's really all I wanted to get to. I didn't want to drag this out into some really long one again. So we took the user repository, and as you saw, our count still worked because our count went to user repository, which went through to abstract repository, which ran the count against that database, and everything worked as expected. So we have all of these things in place now. We have our log helper, we have our user repository, our abstract repositories, handlers, and endpoints. We have all these pieces put together now. So we're like right on the edge of being able to really do work of like actual visual, like let's do some stuff. So I kind of want to hit this as a stop point because from here on out, we're going to start actually generating quite a bit more tables, to kind of putting data into those tables, generating login and authorization tokens, and kind of moving down that route. So let's get to that in the next episode. And as usual, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.